inspired. At this time, I'd like to, thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce this year's distinguished commencement speaker, Veronica de Jesus. I'm going to say a few words. Born in Cleveland, Ohio, of Puerto Rican, Chinese, and Italian descent, Veronica de Jesus spent her childhood moving from city to city with her father and older brother. Never staying in one place long, her family was defined by being, quote, on the road, always leaving from and moving towards, sometimes arriving, but never settling. After attending community colleges in the Sacramento area, de Jesus was accepted to the San Francisco Art Institute, from which she graduated in 1998 with a BFA with honors in interdisciplinary studies. For 3 years, she worked at least 3 jobs, taught art to the blind community at the Lighthouse for the Blind, learned how to read and write Braille, and exhibited her artwork at the Jed Joy Gallery in San Francisco. In 2001, she entered the MFA program here at UC Berkeley. 2 years later, she earned her MFA in sculpture and installation, followed by a year-long residency at the Headland Center for the Arts. Since then, her work as a multimedia artist has been exhibited at lots of galleries and museums. I will name a few: the Berkeley Art Museum, the Jewish Museum, the Artist Collaborative Gallery, Adobe Books Back Room Gallery, New Langton Arts, the Bocana Gallery, Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, Hive Gallery, and the Martina Johnston Gallery, to name just a few. She has had solo exhibits at Dog-Eared Books, Second Street Projects, Michael Rosenthal Gallery, Eleanor Harwood Gallery, all in San Francisco, the Royal Nonsuch Gallery in Oakland, the Q Art Foundation Chelsea District in New York City, and an assortment of venues throughout the nation. Her work has been reviewed in a variety of online publications, as well as the SF MoMA blog, Hey Magazine, Art Week, and an assortment of newspapers. In addition to teaching art to Enchanted Hills Camp for the Blind and the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind, where she developed the art curriculum, de Jesus has been a visiting lecturer at San Francisco State University, San Francisco Art Institute, the NIAD Art Center, and here at UC Berkeley. Publication Studio published a book of de Jesus's memorial drawings. Copies can be found at Yale and the New York Museum of Modern Art. So let me say just a few words about her work. Memory and movement, popular culture, and the line are central to Veronica de Jesus's art. Memory and movement. De Jesus is acutely aware of the vexed processes of memory, how memory is not a static entity but a fluid process, how every bit of the past is filtered and reformed in the present, but also how the past shapes the present. That little girl, moving between places but not residing in them, keeps surfacing in everything from her choice of subject matter, autobiographical musings about nomadism, to her materials, discarded pieces of cardboard, scraps of paper and bark, tree bark, to her sometimes unconventional exhibition sites, precarious places such as hallways, benches, buses, and cars, all transitional places, all emphasizing the on the way but not yet arriving, the ever in motion. Quote, by remaking something of value, writes one reviewer, from discarded pieces of consumer culture, including cardboard, fabric, and grocery bags, de Jesus invites viewers to question their preconceived notions about worth and security, unquote. It's not surprising, then, that one of de Jesus's best-known series of works is entitled Memorial Drawings, one part of which consists of elaborately embellished cars drawn in white ink on birch bark. Out of the car, like the trunk her dad packed with toys and food for those journeys, arises images, patterns, and fantasies. Popular culture. Squeak Carnwath once described de Jesus as a handed-down artist That is, as an artist who presents to us a familiar world, a world that has been handed down to us. But rather than merely mimesis, De Jesus shows us the world we've inherited, a world inundated with popular culture images in strangely skewed ways. She shows us familiar icons transformed through her hand. As we look, we both recognize and question. Imagine for a moment what happens when she gathers into one gallery a triad of superheroes, Batman, Jesus, and muscle men, drawn in comic book style as well as life-size cutouts of each figure mounted on wooden stands and arranged in front of a painted background to create a pseudo-diorama. The line. One critic explains that De Jesus' art is centered on drawing, not limited to it, and is sewn to the practice of putting lines on a page in a passionate, automatic way, unquote. Drawing, says De Jesus, is a, quote, relationship between myself, my tools, my hand, what I am observing, and what I choose to define or be interested in. Unquote. Drawing, as some might say, is a form of seeing, a form of making, a form of coercing or seducing viewers to see anew. Memory, movement, popular culture figures, personal revelation, and social critique are all made manifest through an accumulation of lines in De Jesus' work. Deeply personal, provocative, and whimsical, De Jesus' art reveals process and product and asks us to remember the past and re-see the everyday. I am very pleased that she is with us today. Please join me in welcoming Veronica De Jesus.
A really lovely introduction. You guys look amazing out there. Congratulations, you made it. Be big and be wonderful. And along the way of your being, consider a few things that I'm about to share with you today about identity, intuition, dedication, and faith in yourselves and others. The more I have the insane courage to let myself go, to loosen the control of things, I find myself closing in on my real self. I kind of let fear be my champion of champions. My logic, my mind, try to contain and trap all of my abstractions and hide all of my inner beauties. I like to be quiet sometimes, and words don't really come to me. Just objects, spirit planes, and visualizations. I get really uncomfortable. It feels like the world is sometimes talking around me and I say nothing. Instead of remembering to find my center and to remember I don't really have to say a word. Being present is all I have to be. On one level, I'm just really someone who's addicted to TV shows. And I'm also kind of obsessed with the Cal women's basketball team. Go Bears. Talia Caldwell in the audience, congrats on the Final Four. I mispronounce words, and I might often refer to he as she and vice versa. It's surprising I get my work done, but I do. In fact, I work really hard, and I'm extremely dedicated and focused. I'm a graduate, an artist, an educator, and I'm someone who is currently building an art program for the United Cerebral Palsy Organization of Los Angeles. Growing up, my identity felt that of a ghost. It was locked into running from the law, escaping from danger, and generally just trying not to be seen, incognito. During my BFA years, I wanted guidance from someone who best related to my life experiences. When I wasn't completely immersed in my art practice, I was always kind of just tripping over my self-doubt. Later on, while working on my master's degree, my identity was wrapped up and intertwined with my dad's identity. Eventually, I thought I should forget my past and my lineage of relationships and circumstances, forget them because they didn't really have anything to do with my life now as an artist. So I thought. There are great struggles with these issues. I struggle deeply with my mistakes. I struggle deeply to show my vulnerability, to allow people to be close to me, and to let them know how meaningful they are to me. Another aspect of the struggle resides with the work. My artwork does not put value on me. That is to say, it does not measure me as a person. People will not stop caring about me if my artwork sucks. Feeling empty, floating, claustrophobic, hand-holding goes away. We are asked to hold our own self up. We are crying babies. But I'm lucky. I have a strong support team. This support has helped me and continues to do so. I am not alone, and neither are you. Standing here, lighting a torch for what is to come, I'm extremely excited for you. I like to ask my students to define what intuition means to them. Personally, I just like to find out more about it for myself. My intuition leads me to the most wonderful people. Intuition is why I'm currently living in Los Angeles. Intuition is powerful and quiet. It's my guiding light. When I started studying art in school, I was so frustrated by the lack of women artists in our history books. I told myself that I wanted to participate in changing that situation, even if that meant I would have to work very hard. I also knew art was one of the most competitive fields, so I committed myself to my art, and I made a promise to dedicate myself to my practice. I rededicate myself to this practice pretty regularly, because every year is different. New goals arise, new lessons, new work ethics. I'm always reassessing what my practice is about and what my overall goal is. Growing up, my dad would tell me these really random, almost philosophical stories. I'm not sure what the point was at the time, but I'm glad he did. The story is pretty vague in my mind. It was about this little girl who never gave up. People would tell her no, but she would persevere and was always determined to go for what she felt was the right thing to go for. She was relentless, determined. The story really stuck with me, maybe because it was so out of the blue. I wasn't really looking for a pep talk, but he gave me one and it stuck with me. Perseverance and determination are two of the strongest words in my life stream. I could be lost in a hole somewhere and still feel like I can accomplish everything I've set out myself to accomplish, because I'm relentless and determined. I will get it done. It helps to have someone pay attention to you, someone who spends time to notice and to see your full potential. This goes a long way. For me, the person to do this first was Pam Johnson, a professor of art at Sierra College, now retired. Her observations were a key to unlocking myself. One time I drew a pretty good head of lettuce, and she thought it was magnificent. At the time, I was actually embarrassed that I had done something to make myself stand out. So I crunched over to a corner with my hair in my face, and I just tried to hide. Her celebratory critique of my work gave me a sense of promise. I was on the road to self-confidence. So surround yourself with love and support. If the support isn't there for whatever reason, then make sure you love yourself, and the support you need will be there soon enough. I believe we are constantly shifting, transforming, changing. Know who you are today. I lost my place. It's pretty much, know who you are today, because tomorrow you're going to be a brand new person. Just trust yourself. Be as balanced as possible. Try to keep your nervousness and worry down to a minimum. Any decision you make this day forward, believe in it. And if it was a mistake, let it go. The universe, multi-universe, has you. It really does. Faith goes a long way. Whatever you define it as, it doesn't matter. It's powerful. It will lead you and it will never let you down. Maybe it'll teach you some hard lessons. And maybe it's all about a revised edit. I had this review of one of my shows and was accused of stealing another person's style by this reviewer. I was beyond upset. I wrote the reviewer right away, and I was kind of on a passionate rant. When I'm hurt, I can really hold a hard grudge, especially if I feel like I'm being accused of some wrongdoing. I have a thing about this. I'm trying to work on it. It was one of my most difficult things to face. I try best not to let my emotions rule me, not to play the blame game, to take responsibility, to be strong, and to tell myself over and over again, there's no need to whine. I have a hard time with rejection, not feeling valued, feeling unsupported. So I pray, I breathe, I meditate, I write, and I watch inspirational movies like Miracle, starring Kurt Russell, about the USA hockey team who finally beat Team Russia in the Winter Olympics. All this helps me to reconnect, get recentered, and I continue to climb again. Faith and belief in yourself is pretty magical stuff. Throughout the years, people who followed my work would always tell me that my art had a calming effect. This didn't make too much sense to me, but I was glad about it. I accepted it and paid attention to their observations and thoughts. I once was told not to say that I do spiritual art because the art world would frown on it, that I would be discounted, especially if I wanted to further my career. I think it's an interesting quandary. I think about Robert Irwin, about the book Seeing is Forgetting, the name of the thing one sees. It's a great book. I recommend it. He would go to the racetrack to make money for his art. One time he got rid of everything he owned and went into the desert. He did some pretty bold, inspirational, super spiritual things. As artists, we are not boxed in. We are who we want to be. We rely on one another and the world around us. We are the product of our intentions. If you wish it and believe in it, it will come. Create movement. In order to get things done, simply put things into action. Set goals. Work smart, not hard. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Maybe you've strayed from your art path. Remember, use your perspective tool. Look at all the angles of things and of situations. Even if you feel like you've hit rock bottom, use perspective and you will shine. Be open, compassionate. Be responsible and considerate. Have fun. Goof around. Do it with conviction and positive intention. You have buildings to take over, spaces to occupy, people to share your work with. The world needs your art in whatever shape, form, act, or sound you want to give it. Now go for it. Thank you.